Okay, recording has begun. So Greg, please feel free to kick us off.
All right, great. Um, Thanks, Christina. Appreciate that. Hi, my name's Greg Katz. I'm here to talk to you today about Copilot for Fabric. This is a uh, three-part series that we're doing with iLink, and the opportunity for us today is to talk about Copilot, what we can do with Copilot with Data Factory, with data warehousing, with notebooks within our Spark notebooks and utilizing these tools to help enable our customers to provide an opportunity to look at how you can quick start your data platform and analytics platform within healthcare. So we'll go to the next slide and we'll talk about the agenda here. And we'll start out with introductions. What are copilots? What does that mean to Microsoft? We'll do a discussion around the different use cases, and we'll spend a lot of time. Elia's going to spend a lot of time on the demos around Copilot, specifically around Data Factory, or really around the data pipelines and data flows. We'll have an opportunity to do Q&A. Christina and I will be focused on doing the Q&A. And then any next steps and resources will provide that, as well as some updates that we did see with Fabcom Europe, um, which was, I believe, 2 weeks ago already. So opportunity for us to go ahead and move forward with that. So uh, as I mentioned, my name is Greg Katz. I've been at Microsoft for 22 years, focused on data and AI in healthcare and life sciences. Christina is my partner, and she focuses on Power BI, and Elia will be doing the majority of the presentation, and he's a chief architect at iLink Digital, and one of our great partners to be able to showcase what we can do in Fabric and what we can do with our copilots. So if we talk about the age of copilots, it's important to understand what a copilot is. What does that mean at Microsoft? And this was a branding that we chose to look at AI powered assistants throughout the entire product arsenal. The opportunity to look at how we can go ahead and look at enhancing productivity, or looking at engineering aspects and how we can improve those engineering aspects. So it's a number of different technologies and looking at the natural language processing and machine learning that we can do for these. And you'll see a number of things, today and moving forward, from data integration and analysis, task management, and looking at automation processes. So looking at not only a Q&A aspect, but what do I do and take action for those particular pieces? A contextual piece, so understanding what that context is and how I can go ahead and respond to those particular pieces. Real-time assistance, so asking the questions and looking at those particular questions for that environment. And then, integration with those line of business tools. And today we're going to talk about how do we get that integration with those tools. So if we back up a slide, um,
Yeah.
Satya Nadella, our CEO, made a clear and ambitious mission for the company, which was to empower every person, every organization on the planet to achieve more. This mission is deeply intertwined with what we can do around AI and the advancements with AI with the various domains. And the concept that we're talking about here with these copilots is significant because it brings the ability to go quicker to market for our customers, in healthcare and otherwise. It allows us to do augmented human capabilities, making tasks clearer, and improving the overall decision making. And what you see on this wheel is the co-pilots that we have today and moving forward across all the products in our platform. So this gives me the opportunity to think about Copilot and PC and operating systems from a developer perspective, business applications, modern workplace and simple tools like looking at Microsoft 365 Copilot to sit there and triage my emails, look at what my appointments are. And today we're going to focus all of our time on data and AI and the copilots that we have in Fabric. And now we're going to focus not on the Power BI or the real-time intelligence, but really on the data factory elements and looking at how do we transform our code? How do we do ETL, ELT type operations and bring that into the data platform? How do we look at the data engineering aspects of the platform? Next week, we're going to talk about data science. Today, we'll talk about the data engineering aspects of what we can do in those notebooks. And then we'll talk about the data warehousing and what we can do with those particular pieces. And then after iLink presents and demos, we'll come back and talk about some of the things that we have in the roadmap and where we're going in the future. So with that, I'll turn it over to Elia and we'll talk about iLink and then get into the demos. So thank you.
Thank you, Greg. So my name is Ilayaraja Ishwaran. You can call me as Ilaya. I've been in the industry for, say, close to 25 years, completely on Microsoft technologies. My responsibility include managing the data business and also taking care of the global Microsoft partnership. On the technical side, I'm a chief architect for Power BI, Fabric, and GenAI. Coming back to iLink Digital, right? So we are a global digital transformation company with 20 years of experience, delivering value at scale for over 250 enterprises. And our offerings include digital strategy, data and AI, product engineering and cloud, IoT, RPA, conversational solutions, and licensing and managed services. And we are spread across 25 countries across the globe. And specifically on the data BU, right? So this is one of our largest business unit in iLink. We are a major Microsoft shop, and we won the Partner of the Year award for 2021 and 2022 in Power BI, and we are one of the few SIs to achieve all the advanced specialization status on data and AI. Just to mention specifically relevant to this topic, we also have the BI specialization and AI and ML specialization. We are a Fabric featured partner with plenty of success stories on Fabric. We have published numerous win wires, live wires on Fabric to the larger Microsoft team. And on the certification side, we have close to 250 Fabric certified engineers. Just briefly on our healthcare practice, we are committed to work across the entire healthcare ecosystem, supporting providers, payers, pharma, and medical device companies with our latest innovation solutions on data and AI. So our offerings specifically on healthcare, specifically on the data and AI, includes unified healthcare data platform, EHR application modernization, real-world healthcare insights, and also AI services. This would be a very interesting slide, right? Just to know about the evolution of Fabric. Microsoft launched their first BI service as an on-prem solution called as MSBI, containing integration service, reporting service, analysis service in the year 2005, and this was a complete SaaS platform. And another major launch in the year 2010, Azure was born, and then they started with Azure SQL DB. And if you look at the curve and slowly between the year 2013 and 2016, so they expanded with advanced capabilities such as HT Insights, Azure Machine Learning, Delta Lake. Then in the year 2016, they launched Azure SQL Data Warehouse with the MPP architecture, and they slowly included SQL Pool, Spark Pool, data integration, BI as Synapse Analytics, and also with Synapse Studio. And then they unified all the end-to-end offerings as an MIDP, which is called as Microsoft Intelligent Data Platform in the year 2022. And finally, the major milestone happened. Fabric was launched as a SaaS platform, included all the services, whatever we talked about, under a single unified platform called as Fabric suite of services. So for today's discussion, we'll deep dive into some of the Copilot features of the key Fabric services. Moving on to Fabric, it's a one-stop shop for data integration, data engineering, real-time analytics, data science, and BI without compromising on the security and privacy of the data. So as I mentioned in the previous slide, so it has 7 different services, namely Data Factory, Synapse Data Engineering, Data Science, Data Warehouse, Real-Time Intelligence, Power BI, and Activator, all under a single unified platform with one lake architecture, which is one source of truth. So today we'll deep dive into Data Factory, Data Warehouse, and also Notebooks Copilot. Okay, so requirements to use Copilot in Fabric. You need to have either F64 capacity or a P1 paid SKU, and there is a tenant admin which you need to enable. In the Fabric admin portal, you need to enable this particular option, Copilot and Azure OpenAI services. And you can enable this for your entire organization or create a separate security group, and you can enable this for that particular security group, right? So these are the 2 settings which the Fabric admin needs to enable to use Copilot for either Fabric or Power BI. So as I said, today we'll focus mainly on data flow, warehouse, notebooks. So the idea of this session is I'll keep the slides to the minimum and we'll focus more on the demo today. Fabric end-to-end architecture, right? So this should be an interesting start, right? So this is the typical end-to-end Fabric architecture. Starting with on the right side, you see like various healthcare data sources. This can be from a relational database or a heterogeneous data source or a big data source or a flat file, log file, or images or videos. Then you have the second layer, integration layer. This could be a ELT or a ETL using Data Factory. And the data is stored in warehouse or lakehouse depending on the customer requirement. At the bottom, you can see the notebooks and data flows for transformation. And at the top, you see the medallion architecture, bronze, silver, and gold. And the next layer are the consumption layer with semantic model and Power BI. So the reason I included this particular architecture slide is in the next slide, you would be able to appreciate where all you can use with the same architecture, right? Where all you can use Copilot enabled and how Copilot helps in each of the layer. So we'll see the details in the demo. Okay, so moving on, in the previous slide, we talked about how Copilot can be used in each of the Fabric services. This is useful for data engineers, data scientists, data steward, data citizen, data analyst, and end business user. And today's demo, I'll be wearing a hat of all the key personas as a data engineer, data scientist, data analyst, and data citizens, how Copilot is offered for each of the role, right? So Fabric Copilot uses, if you look at the internal architecture of Fabric Copilot, it uses advanced LLM, which allows to understand the natural query, whatever we type, and perform task automatically. So you can use Copilot for data cleansing, data transformation, data flow creation, optimizing query performance, code suggestion, error handling, and debugging, right? We'll see each of the features in detail in the demo. So just to start with, right, so I have selected the patient life cycle as a use case because this is something most of us can easily relate to this in our daily lives, right? So first starts with the patient registers himself in an hospital or an organization, and then a care team is assigned and links to the right practitioner. In the third stage, then the patient records the condition, allergies, and undergoes all the diagnosis, right? And then the practitioner prescribes medication and schedule procedures based on the diagnostic report. Then the patient identifies an insurance company and submits the claim, right? So this is a normal patient life cycle, right? So you must have seen this in your daily life. So I thought this use case will like more relate to us to understand better. So what I have done is I have converted this a patient life cycle into an diagram. If you look at the major tables, right, whatever I referred in the previous slide. So I'll be talking about, I'll be referring patients table, claims table, encounter. So these are the three main large tables and supported by procedures, conditions, observation, medication request, allergies, devices. So if you look at this particular table, claims table, right? So there are like redundant columns, right? This data model is not 100% correct. So we'll see how Copilot can minimize some of the data engineer work, data analyst work, data steward work in the demo. Okay, moving on to the demo. So let me share my screen. Okay. So this is a normal Fabric workspace, right? People who have worked on Fabric, they know, right? So I'll just give a like 1 second pitch on the different services available. So you have a data pipeline, data flow, Gen 2, Mirror, Cosmos DB, Databricks, notebooks. So we'll have Lakehouse, Warehouse, and then event stream, then the data science services, environment, experience, ML model. So we'll see each of these in the next webinar, but today we'll be focusing mainly on the data flow, warehouse and notebooks, right? So I have created a demo folder. Let me move on. So let's start with the data flow Gen 2, right? This is a normal UI, just for demo purpose. I have created this already. Okay. So this is a normal UI, right? So you have starting with, you start with your data pipeline and then start creating your data flow, right? So this is the place where you extract data. So you can extract from any file data source or a database or a Fabric source, be it like Lakehouse or Warehouse, Power Platform, Azure services or online services. All right, so this is the first step. Normally you use the source and then you can use transformations like group by or row as header, calculated column, like various transformations you can apply. On the left side, you see the list of queries which I have already loaded, and you can see the different steps, right? So each of the steps are the transformation, right? So let me take claims which has the maximum steps. Okay, so I have opened this claims. So if you look at this claims query, right? So it does say like 9 transformations starting with promoted headers, changed column, merged queries, removed columns, filtered columns. Okay. So whatever you see in all these 9 steps, right? Copilot you can use Copilot to do the entire data transformation, right? Let's see how we can do it. Okay. So at the top, you can see the Copilot button. Right, so when you click on this Copilot, right, so you have an option either to create a new query or add a step to an existing query or describe an existing query. So let's start with the data cleansing work, right? So I'm just clicking on this encounter table. So if you look at this encounter table, so there is a specific column condition new, which are, which all the rows are null. So I'm going to apply a data transformation, right? Saying, Mr. Copilot, can you convert all these null values into a meaningful value, right? So I'm going to say in condition new column, replace the null rows with say not present. So let me start with a simple data transformation so that we'll slowly move on to the medium and advanced transformation. So it automatically converts this natural query into a proper update statement. And you can see in this particular column, right? So it has replaced this condition new column with not present, right? This is a simple transformation. And if you look at the same encounter table, right? So there would be an additional step. If you look at towards the last step, you will have this particular transformation, right? Okay, next let's try some interesting data transformation, right? So if you look at this claim table, there are two columns, billable start period and end period, right? So I'm going to say Copilot, Mr. Copilot, can you calculate or create a new column? Billable duration and keep the data type in seconds. One interesting thing which you need to notice, I haven't mentioned which column to use, right? I'm saying create a new column billable duration. So it automatically it reads the table, identifies these two columns and creates a new column billable duration. And I'm also applying another step to change the data type in seconds. So Copilot is intelligent enough to identify the column first, and it automatically converts into seconds, right? And same way, if you look at that last step, you can see a new column is created, right? So this way you can apply some complex data transformation. Let's try another interesting feature which I personally like. Practitioner table, right? So if you look at this particular column, there is a zip code, right? So you have say 10 digits, 5 digits hyphen plus 4 digits, right? So this column doesn't give me a meaningful information, right? So I'm going to say Copilot, can you split this column into two, right? So you should note there is a delimiter hyphen, right? So if you look at a normal ETL process, right, you need to apply a transformation, mention the delimiter, right, and split the column into two, right? A lot of work you need to do. I'm just going to write a simple query, a simple natural query saying split the zip code into two. A very simple statement, and you should notice this particular column gets converted into two columns. Okay, it is saying I have added the following step to your query practitioner, and you can see there is a two column added, right? So you see two columns, zip code 1 and 2, right? So this is useful for like complex transformation. Let's try. You can also ask Copilot, can you explain this query? Right, whatever steps you saw, right? So Copilot can explain each of the step in detail. Okay, so it will say this is the explanation of practitioner table and what is the source and what are the changes it has done, right? What is the Excel file navigation, one promoted header, change column type, the split column, whatever we applied towards the end and converted to integer, right? This is a normal transformation which you can do using Copilot. At the end, when you publish it, so this would be saved to the destination, right? So whatever we have seen today using data flow, we have seen data cleansing, data transformation, and we have seen calculated column, and we have also seen explain the query. Now let's move on to Synapse Warehouse in the interest of time. Okay, so I have a Synapse Warehouse. I'm sure most of the Fabric experts must have seen this, right? So you have an option to load the warehouse, and I have already loaded and I have the list of tables here. Okay, and I'm just clicking on new SQL query. And here you can see a Copilot, right? So you need to go to the settings of Synapse Warehouse and make sure at the end you have Copilot, and you need to enable this button on, right? So you have an option whether to show prompt intelligence or not, right? So you can make it off if you are an SQL expert, you don't need Copilot help. You can make it, I mean, you can switch it off. There is an interesting saying from the NVIDIA CEO, right? So the important language for Gen AI is English, right? And if you are able to type a natural query language in English, so that English, I mean, that query can convert to a SQL code or a Spark code or a Python code, right? So let's explore some of the unique capabilities using Synapse Warehouse. So just to start with, right? So whatever you want to write in the natural query, you can mention it in the comments, right? I'm saying write a query to select count of patients, group by state in patients table. So this is just a comment statement, right? So after you finish writing it, okay, this Copilot, this is off. Okay, now it is on, and it has to show green color Copilot completions is ready, right? So when you start writing a query, select, right? So it gives me a prompt, right? So it say accept. So within a fraction of second, it is able to write a simple query, right? So let me run this. So this is a very simple query. I'm trying to find the patient count by each state, right? So I'm just starting with a simple query, right? So you can write a complex query, right? So you can write in the comments what query you need, and automatically Copilot will help, right? So let's try something. I have one large query, but I don't understand what this query does. Okay, I'm just pasting that query here. And at the top, you have an option to explain this query. So as a normal best practice, right? So you need to add comment to each of the SQL query or a stored position, whatever you create. So within fraction of second, it reads that query and gives me the comment and what it does, right? So counts the number of distinct patient IDs and what is the join condition and which table retrieves data from patient's table, joins from encounter table to, and which column it is mapped, right? So this helps to explain the query, right? Even a complex query, it can explain. So let's try something different. And if you have noticed the ER diagram, there are two key tables which are missing, right? One is the dim date table, and now I'll wear the hat of a data modeler, and I'll ask Copilot to create a dim table. And give me a script to insert rows for 2024. So Copilot is intelligent enough to create a dim date table automatically. And within a fraction of second, it gives me a syntax to create a new dim date table. And it will also give me a script to insert rows. Okay, so let me start.
Laya, we got one question here, which was, when you look at iLink deployments, how has Copilot enhanced or accelerated those deployments with our healthcare customers? Can you talk to that for a minute?
Yeah, so can I take this question towards the end? Because I want to complete few demos. Okay, So, I mean, this has created a dim date table, and it has also given me rows to insert rows for 2024 start date and end date, and it has given me a full script, right? So this saves a lot of time, right? So people who are a SQL developer or an ETL developer or a data modeler, right? So you can use Copilot to run complex queries, right? So, and it has created this dim date table. And let me say select star from dim date. So it has created this dim date, right? And another interesting feature which I personally like is that dim geography, right? So let me run that. So create a table dim geography based on the columns available in the table. And create sample script. So after I finish writing this, so it has given me a query, right? This is a very interesting feature, right? So if you look, so it has gone through the entire tables, and it has given me the list of columns, right? Geography ID, geography name, type, parent geography ID, right? Foreign key, and it will also give me, I mean, if you write the proper prompt, it will give me the script for writing the sample code similar to the one which we saw earlier, right? So these are the different things like what we saw. You can write complex query, you can fix it error, right? So let me show you an example of um, select star from claim where date equal to. Okay, so I know this query is wrong, right? So it automatically says the column name in the where clause is incorrect and it should be date, right? And it has given me the correct code as well, right? So let me run this. Okay, and it says the same error. And when you click on fix query errors, and this automatically fixes the code and gives me the comments, what is the change it has done, right? So this is a very interesting feature you can try for all your complex queries. The last part of the session is let's move on to the notebooks in the interest of time. Let me create a new notebook. So I'm sure all Python developers, Spark developers are familiar with this UI. So first you need to add an existing lakehouse or a new lakehouse. So I already have a lakehouse created. I'm adding this. And towards the rightmost button, you will see a Copilot. Okay, so it's saying get started. So for running this Copilot, right, you need to run an installer, right? So, I mean, this will give me a list of magic commands, right? So let me run this because this will take at least 40 seconds to complete. And if you look at the top UI, right, so you can either select Python or Spark, Scala, Spark SQL, Spark R, or T SQL, right? And towards the right, if you see, you have an option load data from my lakehouse into a data frame, generate insights from data, suggest data visualizations, right? So you can use notebooks for two things, right? So whatever I'm going to show today, it's all with respect to data engineer, data stewards. And in the next session, we'll be talking about how notebooks helps as a data science engineer, right? So data scientist, or if you want to write an machine learning model, right? So you can use Copilot to create all your data science models. So it is going to finish running it. Let me explain the magic commands first, and then we'll move on to the actual Copilot feature. But this is a mandatory exercise which you need to install this package right before you start leveraging the Copilot. Okay, so this is finished running it. So you have 5 magic commands starting with percentage chat, uh, which means, right, so you can write, I mean, in the right chat pane, you write your natural query, right? So same way within notebooks, you can use percentage chat and ask like any query to Copilot. Second one is you can use for code generation. You can explain, describe the data frame, add a comment or fix a error, translate, right? So let's see at least some 3 unique features, maybe in the interest of time. So I'm saying load encounter table into a data frame, or you can even do this way, right? So select star from encounter. So so it has given me the same Python code, right? So you have an option, say you can copy code or an insert code, right? So I have the code already, right? So let me run this. So towards the bottom, you see, it gives me a prompt, right? So what are the key columns used in the encounter data set? Transform the encounter data into include only necessary columns, right? These are the different transformation which you can try. So I have the encounter table loaded into the data frame. Now I'm asking what are the key columns in the encounter data set. So it reads the data set, reads the table, and gives me a list of columns used along with the data type, right? So this is useful when you want to read and which column to use, right? So this really helps. So let's try something. Let's try some transformations, right? So I'm saying standardize the date format in the encounter table to this particular date format, right? So if you need to apply, right, so it automatically identifies what are the date columns used in the encounter table, and it applies this transformation, right? So I have a piece of code, right? So okay, so I have this code ready, right? So this actually gives the list of all the date columns, and you can apply the transformation at one shot. So this is an example of a data transformation which you can use. So let's try some data cleansing, right? I'm saying identify and remove duplicate patient records from the patient table. So I'm asking 2 things. One, to identify all the duplicate patient records. Number 2, and remove the patient duplicate records. So it gives me 2 codes, right? So let's look at the code. So this is the code for identifying the duplicate rows. Okay, and I also have code for removing the duplicates, right? Assume if you are a Python developer, right, and you need to do transformation, right? So you spend a lot of time in writing the code. Sometimes you have like a syntax error, right? So this Copilot can help you do all complex transformation, and you just write a natural query and you get the Python code. Let's explore some of the magic commands. So as I was saying, right, so I mean, whatever you type on the chat pan, you can do it within the notebooks as well, right? So you need to start with percentage chat and say, I'm asking what are the interesting insights that you can tell me about the data frame loaded. And if you remember the last Power BI Copilot session, right? So there is a feature called summarize the report, and also there is a narrative feature, right? So it's a similar one, right? So it reads the data set, a data frame, and it gives me a detailed description of this particular data frame, right? And it also gives me an analysis of similar to that narratives feature in Power BI Copilot. It gives me a detailed analysis of what is done within that data frame, right? So this you can use, maybe you can wear a hat of say a business user or a data citizen, right? If you're not a too technical and you want to understand the particular data frame, you can use this feature. Let's try another important feature, fix error, right? So this would be very useful for all the data engineers, right? So I have purposefully kept this code as with some error, with some syntax error. So I'm using percentage fix underscore errors, and it automatically reads and fixes the error, and it also gives me a comment saying what is the error and where it has changed, right? So this is very useful. So if you look at this particular syntax, right? So it fixes the error and gives me a syntax saying what is the change it has made, right? So this is whatever I have done. This is a very simple code, right? So for example, people working on the dev project or a support project, right? And if you are working on like a P1, P2 ticket and you don't know what to solve, how to solve, right? So you can use Copilot to fix the error automatically, right? This actually saves your time. This is another unique feature, right? So next feature I want to show you is the so if you're a Python, if you're a SQL developer and you're not a Python expert, so you can write a SQL query saying within notebooks with percentage SQL, and then when you run it, you can run a SQL query within notebooks, right? This is another magic command which you can use, right? This is similar to how you load data to a data frame. Okay, the last feature which I want to show you is, I think we have seen enough of data transformation, data cleansing. Let's try some data visualization, right? I'm saying load the patient data from patient table and create a histogram to show age distribution between age group and patient ID. So it gives me a Python code. Okay, so I'm just inserting that code. Okay, so I have the code ready. Let me run this. So what it does is reads the data from the patient table, loads to a data frame, and creates a histogram data to pandas with the columns, right? Whatever I have mentioned, right? So let's see whether it gives me an error or it runs. Sometimes Copilot works weirdly, right? I mean, only sometimes, right? When you see that kind of a situation, you can just include percentage fix error, and then automatically it solves, right? So you can see a histogram table, histogram chart, age distribution of patients by patient ID and by age group, right? So it's a very interesting one, right? So I mean, I have just written a one-liner natural query, and it has given me a graph, right? A histogram chart, right? So you can use Copilot for all the data transformation, right? So far what we have seen today, right? Using notebooks or Synapse Warehouse or the data flow, right? So we have seen data transformation, data cleansing, fix a error, right? Write a query, explain a query, or provide a detailed analysis, right? Or create a calculated column, right? Create a new dimension table, right? So there are plenty of things which you can explore using Copilot. I mean, whatever I've shown today is just a synopsis or just a snapshot of what Copilot can do, right? So, and you are the data engineer experts, Fabric experts, you can explore Copilot for a lot of things, right? So And this is all I had for the demo. And let me move on to the slides in the interest of time. And then we'll move on to the questions. So I was very cautious in during the presentation, right? So if you look at this particular slide, so you can see data transformation in data factory, data transformation in data warehouse, and even in notebooks, right? And I was cautious in not repeating any of the features so that you understand the end-to-end Copilot capability of data factory, data warehouse, notebooks, so that it solves the role of personas of a data engineer or data analyst or a data citizen or a data steward, right? So let's move on to the last part of the demo, not the demo. So I'll hand it over to Greg to continue with this slide, and then we'll move on to the Q&A. Greg,
Yeah,
over
thank
to you.
you. Yeah, thank you. A couple announcements that we made at FabCon that I think are really important to this audience. A couple of general availabilities, Copilot for Dataflow Gen 2, which Elia was talking about, fast copy for Dataflow Gen 2. So looking at how we can go ahead and significantly reduce the data processing time and improve the overall cost efficiency with Dataflow. So that was a great opportunity for us to go ahead and look at that. On-premises data gateway for the data pipeline, and also mirrored database support for Snowflake, which if anyone needs or expresses an interest in the opportunity to go ahead and take a look at that, we can go ahead and demo that for the team, or iLink can go ahead and demo that for the team. So let us know. Couple things we announced for public preview. One of them was incremental refreshes for Dataflow Gen 2. So instead of having to do a full sync, we can go ahead and just look for those changes and provide those changes as far as a refresh. Another interesting one was the ability to look at for Azure Data Factory as a item within Fabric. So taking that initial information that we had in ADF and start to marry what we can do in a Fabric. So opportunity to go ahead and do that. And then the last thing is, we updated the Spark engine, the Delta engine, Spark engine. So you'll see in your notebooks the ability to do 1.3 for that Spark engine. A lot of C++ updates that we did for the overall engine as far as efficiency and speed, reducing latency in the platform. So opportunities to go ahead and look at a number of different pieces. So really excited about the updates, still trying to digest a couple of them myself. But I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Christina, who's going to talk about the next steps and what the next webinars are.
Thank you, Greg. So appreciate everyone's participation in our Fabric webinar series. We've been working diligently on having the series cover all aspects of Fabric Copilot. So for our remaining Fabric Copilot series, we will be talking about data science and engineering Copilot, leveraging the advanced AI machine learning models. So we're going to be going to a lot more details on the data. You want to mark your calendars. We'll also be sending out some reminders for that. We definitely would like to see you there. And also another thing to be aware of is that we talked a lot about our Fabric conference in Europe. So we do have some information on a lot of the roadmap items and items that have been released recently. I know we talked a little bit about it today, and we did that in our previous webinar. But again, we will be sharing out this link. So if you would like to see some of the other exciting features that have come through for Microsoft Fabric, please feel free to do so. And with that, we're going to be opening up for Q&A. So if anyone would like to ask questions, I know, Greg, there was a question in the beginning that was asked. If we could bring that one back up, and anyone else that has any questions in the chat that they'd like to bring up and talk about, we have a few minutes here at the end to go through that. Oh, and by the way, sorry, not to forget, let me bring this over back to Alea for the iLink digital resources, and we also have some resources from Microsoft.
Yeah. So we have like a bunch of solutions, accelerator, right? So, and whatever you see here are some of the marketplace solutions and app source solution. Specific to Fabric and Copilot, right? So we do have plenty of experience, right? So when I started this slide, right? So I said we have like plenty of Fabric opportunities, and we have published plenty of WinWires and LiveWires, right? And in case if you are interested in either Fabric opportunity or a Copilot opportunity, right? So we have like a Fabric Copilot 1 day workshop or a Fabric 4 week POC, right? So you can leverage that. And we also have a very strong Gen AI team, right? So we have like a bunch of Gen AI workshop, Gen AI hackathon, which we have done recently, right? So that we'll talk in detail in the next session. Over to you, Christina or Greg.
Oh, this is just about the Copilot resources that are available. This is something else that we definitely like to share out. We have a blog post that we put out for every recording that we do. So we are going to get more resource information to get these links out there. But this is really just about Fabric Copilots and introduction, security, the value of Microsoft Fabric too. And we also talk a little bit about all the different workloads that are available and links to learn more. So definitely would suggest anyone that's really interested to follow along with this page too for more information.
Okay, so let me take the first question with respect to healthcare customer, right? So as I said in the beginning, right? So we have like a bunch of Fabric opportunities. Some of the opportunities are live in production. Just to mention specifically from healthcare point of view, right? So we also have like 5 customers who are leveraging Fabric effectively, right? So and some of them are in production. And if the question is specific to Copilot, say Copilot is still maturing, right? So we saw in one of the slides, some of the features are in private preview, in public preview, and some of them are in generally available, right? So we have done like couple of POCs, Copilot POCs for like 2 healthcare customers, right? So that is in progress, but we are waiting for the product to completely mature and have. There are like a lot of recent announcements, as Greg was saying, right? So you can there are a lot of things with data pipeline and a lot of new announcements, right? So they have enhanced the code quality suggestion, right? So as I was saying, there were like sometimes there would be some weird errors, right? So and now this has been improved drastically, and the Synapse Warehouse is in like public preview, right? We'll have like more features updated, and hopefully we'll have Copilot features in the production. So I will check if there are like any other questions in the chat window, or you can unmute and ask. We have a team of experts from both iLink and as well as from Microsoft. Any questions from data engineer perspective or from a data analyst perspective, anything on the data flow Gen 2, right? I mean, I tried to cover like all the unique capabilities, right? And whatever you haven't seen in the Microsoft videos, right? I just consolidated like, I mean, lot of new features, exciting features I showed in the demo, right? Data flow Gen 2 in Synapse Warehouse as well as in the notebooks. And there are like plenty of things which you can still explore. I'll pause here for any questions.
Alea, the one thing that comes to mind for me is with Copilots and your team at iLink, has it been able to shorten some of your sprints with some of the Copilot features? What are you seeing boots on the ground from that perspective?
Yeah, so let me take the question from Divya Tiwari. Explain the difference between Synapse and Fabric, right? So if you look at this Fabric journey, right, that's why I had this slide particularly. Microsoft launched their Azure SQL Data Warehouse in the year 2016 as an MPP architecture, right? And slowly this SQL Data Warehouse was evolved as a Synapse Analytics with SQL Pool and Spark Pool plus data integration plus Fabric, Power BI integrated with Azure Synapse Analytics, right? And the same concept, right? So if you look at the Synapse Studio, right, within the same UI, you can leverage four things, right? As I said, you can use your SQL pool, Spark pool, data factory, and you can use your data integration, all this unified platform within the Synapse Studio, right? So that was the starting point for Fabric innovation, right? So Fabric is a complete SaaS platform. The previous versions of Synapse Analytics or MIDP, it's a complete PaaS platform, right? So if you ask a difference, I mean, some of the capabilities which were working in silos in platform as a service was brought in within Fabric as a SaaS platform, right? And again, if you look at Fabric, you still have your Synapse Data Warehouse, Synapse Data Science, Synapse Data Engineering. All your Synapse families are still within Fabric, right? So, I mean, I'm sure this clarifies. Sorry, Greg, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I was asking more about from iLink's data engineering team and your deployment. So when you're looking at your sprints with your clients in healthcare, what have you seen as far as reduction in time for delivery of those services using Copilot? Because I think it would provide your engineers with an ability to quick start even on new technologies.
Yeah. Yeah, I think recently we published a WinWire for Elevance Health and also Makasan, I believe, right? So these had like large customer saving time, right? So I mean, when we started before Fabric was introduced, right? So they were spending a lot of time, right? So processing the query and getting that particular report, it was taking around some like 120 hours of time, right? And after Fabric was launched and the entire data was brought in the one lake architecture, right? And with direct lake in Power BI, right? So we were able to retrieve the same use case within say like I think 4 seconds, right? So we were able to, I mean, bring down the cost completely, right? That's number one. And the investment on Fabric, right? Return on investment with your PaaS world and with the SaaS world, right? So customer had like a lot of cost savings, not only from the infrastructure side and also from the end business user, right? So the end business user needs to be happy, right? At the end of the day, when they are looking at a report, right? When they are looking at the report, I mean, if they are consuming the report within a fraction of second, and that saves a lot of time, right? So that was one of the saving we have seen in both the healthcare customers.
Yeah, that's a really important one. I think a lot of times we look at IT from a deployment or data platform needs, but looking at the business analysts and those business users and what is the quick to knowledge or quick to insight type capabilities that we have. So, I think that's a great one that we need to continue to point out. So appreciate the iLink team. Christina, in closing, any comments and next steps for the team?
Yeah, so I just want to say thank you for everyone that participated today and joined these meetings. We definitely like to see more people following our blog. So I did put some information about the blog that we have. Every recording that comes through will be posted here with all of our links. So please follow us for the next session. And I think with that, unless there isn't any further questions, we're going to close out for the day.
Yeah.
Have anything else, Alea?
So yeah. So in case if there is a Fabric opportunity or a Power BI opportunity or a Copilot opportunity which you want to have explore, right? If you want to do a small POC or an MVP, right? So we have a team of expertise, right? We have like a large MVPs within iLink team, right? So we have like Stephanie Bruno and Ahmad Ali and like plenty of MVPs within iLink team, right? So we can help speed up the process, right? So in case if you have a Fabric opportunity your Copilot opportunity or a Power BI opportunity or a Gen AI, right? Feel free to reach out to us, right? So we have the strong expertise. I'm sure, I mean, you are like excited with all the demos, right? Hope this session was productive and useful. And thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.